When it comes to working on a neighborhood and then doing a single family home build in Blue Water Village, sometimes I miss an opportunity to really finish the bit of storytelling that I had intended to do. Well, today we are certainly going to change that as we are back in the Far East Square neighborhood and I get to complete the other half, I suppose, of the build. Now, for those of you just discovering my channel, my name is Michael, and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming in Life Sims, the YouTube channel where I build worlds, lots, and share my thoughts on video games in the life simulation gaming space. Yes, we're back in Far East Square, the neighborhood, the Asian fusion neighborhood, I suppose, where we have done a couple of builds before. Now, I'm going to have that graphic, of course, pop up here to kind of show you exactly where we are working on. And by the time that this episode airs, I'll definitely have released a poll kind of asking what that third lot should be, just because even though I do have a very specific vision going into this SimCity project, there are some lots, I suppose, where I actually have left them a little open-ended, and that's one of the few opportunities to really vote and have your say on something, on a build that I will do in the future. But that is something that you guys will find on my community part of my channel. I don't even know what to call it properly here, but yeah, it's part of the community tab where I have posts and all that. So by the time that this episode airs, I would have submitted that poll. I would have published that poll well before then, because I kind of need to know what I'm doing before I actually do a speed build. So yeah, if I had changed my schedule differently for the publishing schedule of at least the first quarter and a half of 2025, this probably would have been a little better timed and all of that. But needless to say, that is such a tangent that I just kind of went on that I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure how important it is. But let's get our heads back into the game here. So the full vision from the last Far East Square neighborhood that we had built for the, that I had built was a set of apartments that look exactly like this. Obviously, this is a copy and paste situation where I have a lot of the same size just sitting directly south of the last lot that we had built in the Far East Square neighborhood. And I do want it to have the same aesthetic, at least on the exterior side, but I'm going to be changing a couple of things here and there, hence why I am doing a really quick job here of just deleting absolutely everything and anything within this apartment build here. So yes, this is yet another apartment build, and that was always the plan since the beginning. And this particular lot build also follows the same formula as the last apartment build that we did, which is literally right next door to this one. Obviously, because of the copy and paste situation here, a lot of the things were already placed for me. And I really wanted this lot and the lot right next to it to really be night market inspired. And by that, I mean, I really wanted the ground level to be bustling with all kinds of activity. And in order to do that, I really had to expand upon the amenities that are being offered in this lot in particular, but I'll kind of touch more on that just in a little bit here. But yeah, this is another apartment build. It's got 3 bedrooms in it, and it's going to end up with 2 bathrooms. And it also has a restaurant located right underneath it. So it's literally following the exact same formula as the apartment right next to it. And that was always been my intention. So exactly like the last apartment build that I did here, when you, the player, are able to purchase this lot, you're not only paying for the apartment unit itself, but you're also paying for the restaurant right beneath it. So you're literally setting up your household to be living on top of a business that they own. And so in order to do that, they have to kind of pay for it, don't they? So yeah, this lot costs, if I remember correctly, I believe it's over 60,000 simoleons. It's just like the other one in terms of the price, except there's like a difference of 10,000 simoleons for whatever reason. Actually, I know the reason. The reason is that I was able to fit an extra bathroom in the last apartment unit. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Um, there is a difference between like 10,000 simoleons, and that was always something that I had intended. It is not a starter apartment unit by any means, although it is something that does have a cozier look and feel to it. It's still, something that you pay a little more for so that you can own the restaurant right underneath it, which is a way for your Sims to make money. So yeah, there is a bit of a steeper initial cost to purchasing this apartment. And with the way that the business as usual bistro restaurants work, I'm not even too sure if you'd actually make that money back. But because this was one of those very rare situations in this game where I can introduce gameplay that offers players an opportunity to play as a household that lives in a residential unit that owns a business on that residential lot. That was something that I really wanted to replicate in this build as well, since it is something that I find is very rare, or at least very rare in the sense that it makes sense. And with the night market inspiration that I was taking for this lot and the lot right next to it, it was certainly something that I kind of wanted to hold true to. Speaking of which, there are some objects, like on the ground level, I tried to make it play off of the night market just right next door to it. And the ground level itself doesn't have a lot of objects on it like the last lot does. And that's because I really didn't want to overcrowd it too much. And the highlights on the ground floor of this particular of this particular apartment complex is the actual amenities that are being offered. And the idea with the building amenities being offered in the slot and in the apartment complex next door is that the idea behind it was that they would be shared by residents that live on both lots here. And that's another reason why I wanted to make this an entirely separate lot, is because it is nice to it's really nice to have more than one household. And I touched upon this a little bit before in the last apartment build episode within the Far East Square neighborhood, but when it comes to designing neighborhoods and coming up with the concepts of them, one thing that was very important for me was actually being able to offer players a chance to live in those neighborhoods as opposed to visit them. So there's always going to be like some sort of a residential lot build within each of the neighborhoods. So that's all just to say that I'm just trying to keep true to it. And if I just threw like one apartment unit, or not apartment unit, but like one residential complex within a neighborhood, it just kind of feels like it doesn't represent the neighborhood in its entirety. Because in my opinion, like a neighborhood does have a lot of commercial buildings to it, and businesses. Like, it's shaped by businesses, but it's also shaped by the residents themselves that live in there. And I wanted to offer players like an opportunity to at least put more than one household within one neighborhood. So that's why I made this a priority and made this a residential lot as opposed to any other lot types. Like, I'm sure I could have made it into a market lot type, which is a lot classification that came with the World Adventures expansion pack, but I don't really like the idea. Okay, I've never been a fan of taking away some of the uniqueness of the different expansion packs. For example, like, it kind of takes away a reason for you, the player, to actually visit Shane Simla. Although in that same breath, it has been a known issue that taking the vacations with the World Adventures worlds kind of can contribute to corrupting your game and all that. So that's a whole other discussion that I'll let you guys have in the comments section, because I am not even too well versed on that particular issue myself. I'm just aware that it exists. But anyways, I'm kind of getting off to a tangent here. So yeah, this is night market inspired. The Far East Square neighborhood has always been like a blend of Asian cultures, and there are many cultures in Asia. It's the largest continent on our planet, for goodness sake. However, I decided to make the particular choice to choose India as the main the main culture to use as inspiration for this build, like for the apartment unit and also for the restaurant itself. And the biggest reason why I decided to choose that culture here is because I have access to the Indian store sets from the Sims 3 store. So because those assets are available for me to use, I'm gonna implement them right in this slot here. And again, it helps to add another aspect to the Far East Square neighborhood. Like, it isn't just a blend of Chinese and Japanese Asian cultures anymore, or now like with this lot and with the last lot that we built, we've introduced like Cambodia and India into the mix as well. Now, I obviously can't build out all of the Asian cultures to fit within the Far East Square neighborhood. I'm sure you saw the graphic earlier, but I've only got about like 6 or 7 lots to really build out and form this identity for this cultured neighborhood. And honestly, there's just not going to be that kind of opportunity to explore every culture within the continent of Asia. So I just really had to pick and choose based on what I have access to and what I think I can creatively manage and execute. Yeah, things that I can do well is basically what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, the structure itself, the copy and the paste, saved a lot of time for me. And with the structure, I did have to make a couple of adjustments. Something that was kind of weird is that some of the ladders actually disappeared, and you'll see me really try to replace the ladders, but for some reason the ladders just did not want to be replaced. So I just kind of left them. I might actually go back and delete them now that I'm kind of seeing it on screen right now. So that might be something that could be on the list of things to do whenever I get around to doing a Far East Square edit episode, which, as you guys, for those of you that have been with the channel for a little bit, you guys know that I like to go back to these lots and then give them a couple of edits here and there. So that could definitely make it on its, on my list of things to do when I go there. So just gonna note that down in my notebook and just to kind of keep that in mind here. Now, before anybody starts coming at me regarding the Indian restaurant and the color palette that I chose, let me tell you, the color palette that I chose for the Indian restaurant had a light pink with combined with a natural wood. It was very light. It was very airy from the inspiration that I was using. Now, it doesn't translate on camera here because of that Sims 3 bloom effect or whatever with the lighting. And it is shown accurately in the screenshots at the end of this video when I do a tour of the finished lot. So just kind of hold your judgment off on that until you get to the tours, or at least, you know, skip ahead before you start writing me notes on how it's too bold and all that. But yeah, I see what you're seeing on camera, and it does not look like that in the game at all, and it just didn't translate in this case here either. Now, it is no secret that the software that I use to record doesn't record the colors or the lighting very accurately with The Sims 3, which is something that is very unique to the game itself, because I have recorded for other games and it records the lighting and colors completely accurately and all that based on what I'm seeing. So yeah, it's yet another one of those quirks about The Sims 3 that I continue having to fight with. And I do adjust the lighting and stuff in the post edits because it affects all footage, unfortunately. But yeah, anyways, the inspiration for this restaurant, I decided to go with something that was pink, and that's because I feel like pink is very important to the country of India. I mean, it was Diana Freeland that said that pink is the navy blue of India, who is someone that I know nothing about outside of that quote. So the fact that I am quoting Diana Freeland is a mystery to even me, because I don't even know who I'm talking about. But that's something that she said, and she was like a Vogue editor. So you know what, I'm gonna have to take her word for it. But I've also visited India myself, and so that was something that was very apparent to me, was the vibrant colors and the culture itself. So it was all very vibrant from my experience of it, and it was something that really left an impression on me. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that I was leaning into those bolder colors where I could, and I felt like since pink is not a color that I use at all, if anything I might use like a neutral like white that has some red undertones to it, but I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself here. I'm digressing just a little too much. But yeah, I really wanted to make sure that this particular restaurant had the color pink associated to it, just based on that quote and based on my own travels to India as well. So that was something that I just decided to lean into. And honestly, you guys, like, I'm not the best when it comes to style and even color theory, if I'm going to be very critical of myself, but I do think that every style has a time and a place. And I am really exploring that with this series and with these speed builds that you guys see coming out for my SimCity project here. So that is something that I'm having a lot of fun with. Whether it's executed perfectly or not, well, honestly, that is, I'm going to leave that up to whoever wants to critique it in the comment section below. It isn't a problem to me. I like a lot of the stuff that I am putting out, and for the stuff that I don't, I usually go back and I edit it, as you guys see on camera all the time. But yeah, one thing that was a huge game changer, and I'm sure that you guys are noticing it if you are watching intently. I know that some people just like to listen to my videos, and you know what? Power to you. I don't mind that at all either. But anyways, I added the Indian collection items from the Sims 3 store into their own separate collections folder. This was a game changer for me, because if there is something that is really time consuming within the Sims 3 when it comes to building lots and stuff, it is the fact that I'm always having to search for items and to search for objects. And it's a very tedious process, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. And so when I loaded up this build, I was fresh off from doing the suburban house build from the last episode. And so I just kind of jumped right into this one, and I was getting a little frustrated with having to find every single object over and over and over again. So I started using the collections folder for the very first time. And it is a game changer, you guys. You can create your own folders, you can customize them, you add in your items, and you can find them very easily. I mean, what's not to love about that? And I don't know why I haven't been using that ever. So you're going to see me as I go through some of these items, especially when I start placing objects in the kitchen, just kind of adding them to a separate collection folder as well, because I created a food collection folder. Since I use a lot of food items, I like to use them in kitchens. So yeah, food objects and the decor for like kitchens and stuff is something that is very important to me. There are some objects that I will leave out of a collections just to force myself to really hunt for it, and that's because I like to be exposed to different ideas. For example, I don't see myself ever using countertops as a part of a collections unless it's something that I specifically want for a particular look. And that's because I like to be exposed to the entire set of countertops, especially like when I'm building out kitchens and stuff, just because sometimes I'll start looking for something and then I come across something else that just fits the space even better. So I'm trying not to limit myself for like some major things like that, but for items that are specific to a set, like the Indian sets, for example, or if there is a collection of objects like the food decor objects that I want to have easy and quick access to, that I absolutely will throw into a collections folder of some kind here. So yeah, that was really the game changer for me when building out this particular lot, is that I started using collections folders, and I don't know why I've been sleeping on that for the last like 15 years since this game came out. Continues to surprise me to this day. And also that last update for The Sims 3 at the time that I'm recording, it was only a week old at this point. That surprised the hell out of me too, if I'm going to be completely honest. But anyways, back to the episode here. I am making a hibachi restaurant there with one of the Asian sets. Oh, I completely forget. But from the Sims 3 store, there was a hibachi grill that was provided as some premium content. And so because I haven't been using it a whole lot within the Far East Square neighborhood, I really wanted to make a hibachi restaurant. So here's my opportunity here. Now, the thing with the hibachi table that's really disappointing for me is that despite it being premium content, you cannot hire a chef for the hibachi table. So I figured that the way that this space would function is that if you hosted a party, for example, that this can be a place for your Sims to just kind of hang out and enjoy each other's company at and all of that. The color scheme, as the color palette for it, was obviously that it was going to be like a dark natural wood palette, like wood on wood, which is something that I really enjoy. And of course, it is very Japanese inspired. So I just leaned into those themes and yeah, I just leaned really hard into those themes, and I really like the way that it juxtaposes the Indian restaurant that's next door to it. And it just, again, it adds a whole new flavor to this little corner of Sim City, because right across the street, we have a bunch of those. We have the apartment complex that has different kinds of amenities on the first floor there. And like I mentioned earlier, the idea with the residents that live in both of these complexes is that they would be using amenities in both of the spaces. And of course, like, because it's night market inspired, those ground level spaces are open to the public as well. In this case, the gym actually complements the spa amenity that I had built in the apartment complex across the street. And because they have public markers dropped on them, you could theoretically play your household on this lot, make them go to the gym, and then have them visit the apartment complex literally next door and have them use the spa amenities. So that was kind of the gameplay that I had in my mind when building out this lot. And also, like, while we are discussing the gym here, I did kind of run out of ideas, so I kept it very simple. I decided to just go with a natural and I guess a neutral color palette, which, as you guys know, is a comfort zone for me. So I just kind of played into that just a little bit here. I also added in the martial arts dummy, so your Sims can actually gain the martial arts skill when visiting this lot. I believe that the only other lot that you are able to gain that skill in, for my world at least, is the military base lot that I had done way back when. I almost want to say that that video was like over a year old now, so it's been a while. But yeah, I've always been very hesitant to add like unique skills that you can learn from the world adventures worlds, because it kind of defeats the purpose of having sim players actually visit it. But I am starting to get over that kind of sentiment. I think I'm slowly starting to change my mind on that a little bit here, just with the way that the world adventures worlds actually work, and how they're like a big deterrent that players have with world adventures is actually visiting those worlds, because they can corrupt your game. I know I mentioned it earlier in this video, and I am kind of speaking a little out of pocket on it just because I haven't done the research necessary to really speak on it, but it's something that I am aware of. And so because I'm aware of it, I feel like other players are too. And so I don't want to exactly close off some gameplay that players would be missing completely. Although at the same time, I do value that expansion pack's vision and goal and gameplay availability there. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent there. I did keep the garbage and utility room the same. The residential lots, like, they need to have a garbage can object present, and I need to have that make sense in this particular context. I think that it is redundant for both of these apartment complexes to have a garbage utility room. Like, I would imagine only one of them would need it to be able to handle all of the waste and garbage from both lots, but just due to the game constraints, it is going to be necessary for me to place it in here. So I just like changed a few things here and there just slightly, just to make it at least look a little different. And yeah, I'm sure that you guys have noticed, but although this is copied and pasted onto this lot, this building is actually mirrored just with the way that the copy and paste functions work. And technically there is less space for the residential unit itself. And that was quite unfortunate in a way. Like, I knew that there was going to be something different about this lot. And the way that I'm choosing playable residential units, especially for something that isn't a starter home, is that I am trying to give the player the best view or the best unit possible. So the best unit possible is in my opinion, the street facing unit that looks directly into the House of Blue Leaves lot right across the street there. Although an argument can obviously be made for the views in the back, but those units would have been, that unit actually would have been just as large. That could have actually worked, but I really wanted the restaurant to be below, and I didn't want the restaurant to be located at the back of the lot, as I imagine that there would be more foot traffic towards the front of the lot. And there was no way for me to really, I just made the decision that I made, and I think that one could argue that I could have placed the unit elsewhere, but I made the decision that I made, you guys. And it did make this stair placement difficult, and you'll see me struggle a little bit with it. I was experimenting with different styles here and there for the stairs, but I needed something that didn't take up a whole lot of space, but at the same time was able to get Sims from one level to another, which is always going to be a caveat with stairs. So yeah, the stair placement was very difficult. It dictated the layout of the entire unit itself. And there has been a standard that I have been playing by here, and I have determined that to help scale the project, just to give it a certain sense of scale, that if a set of stairs is 2 stairs wide, it is considered a standard size by realistic construction standards, and whatever that standard size is going to be is going to vary by place to place wherever you live. But anyways, for me, I've determined that staircases must be 2 stairs wide in order for it to be considered a standard size within my Sims 3 world, and that a 1 stair wide staircase is something that's very narrow, like something that you'd find on fire escapes, for example. And so I needed to have the stairs leading from the, I guess technically the building's 2nd level to the 3rd level, 2 stairs wide. And then I decided to make, well, I was kind of forced to in this situation, if I'm going to be honest. I was forced to make the decision that the 1 stair wide leading up to that 4th level, which walks out to the rooftop there, is considered a narrow staircase, which in my opinion would make sense for a complex like this. I'm pretty sure that I did the same thing for the last apartment complex build that I had done just across the street in this case. However, I never really explained that there is a rhyme and a reason for it, and it's something that I'm trying to keep consistent throughout this entire series. Of course, like there are lots of examples where I have placed stairs that are more than 2 stairs wide, but I've always viewed those as being more I've always viewed those as being more publicly accessible. But anyways, I had to make the stairs 2 squares wide, or 2 stairs wide if we really want to make a tongue twister here, and it was something that I stuck with, and it dictated the layout of the entire apartment complex itself. Throughout this build, I was very loyal to the Indian set itself, the exception being the arches, because those are not a part of the Indian set. So the arches, I believe, came with the I want to say the Supernatural expansion pack, but they could have also come with the, what was that world that they did? The haunted world that they did. Might have even come with the dragon world that they did. My goodness, you guys, it has been a minute since I have played The Sims 3, and I've already forgotten all of the sets and stuff, so I do apologize. But yeah, I was very loyal to the Indian set itself, taking a lot of inspiration from the Sims 3 store and even the Sims 3 store screenshots on how they use the Indian set, because I really liked the way that they used it. So I tried to make the wallpaper similar, for example, and I just kind of followed through with trying to make each of the rooms make sense according to that wallpaper set and according to the inspiration I was getting from the Sims 3 stores. So yeah, it was like one of those sets that I felt that EA had built very well in their promotional material for it. So I decided to use that as my direct inspiration going forward. As you can tell, the Cambodian blinds make a comeback, and no, I am not apologizing for them because they are my new favorite object and I absolutely love them, and I still can't believe that the Sims 3 community as a whole has really been sleeping on them. Or maybe I'm just late to the party, one of the two. I'm probably gonna make a Reddit post about it just to see if I'm just late to the party in this case. But yeah, back to the build here. In the Sims 3 store, within the promotional screenshots for the Indian sets, I loved the bold patterns in there. So I made sure to incorporate those wherever I could. With me, like when I think of India, outside of that Diana Freeland quote, and you know, along with my experience of actually traveling to India, it's really like color and impact. And I really wanted to make that impact within the residential home itself in a different way from the restaurant. You see, the restaurant is very it's very tailored to a modern public. So it's more like the restaurant itself is more like India/modern in terms of its in terms of the color palette that I chose and the approach that I took with the restaurant, whereas the residential unit here takes its inspiration from the Sims 3 store itself, which I think is well, I'm not too sure like what aspect of interior Indian decor that the Sims 3 store was trying to emulate, but my build here is emulating that. So that is exactly how it's gonna have to go here. But yeah, I love the bold patterns. I tried to reuse them wherever I could. And a great example of that is actually in the kitchen. You see, the kitchen is absolutely tiny. I think that it was very important for this particular residential unit to have its own dining room and living room situation. So it kind of combined into one living space there. Like I said, this unit is smaller than the Cambodian build that we did the last time we were in Far East Square. So this one I had to make some compromises here and there, and the kitchen was definitely one of them. Although in both lots, like the kitchen is pretty small for both of those lots. But anyways, the kitchen, I decided to do something completely different, and I wish I had the inspirational screenshots for it, because it would probably prove to you guys that I didn't take acid. So I found some inspiration, and it was really bold, it was colorful, it was wonderful. And they had candy red counters with white countertops, and then the cupboards were also patterned. It looked really nice in real life and in those real life pictures and all of that. And I feel like it translates here, and it works well for this particular house, because within this apartment unit there isn't a lot of red in the public living spaces, like the living room and the dining room, etc. And so it was really nice to just kind of break up the colors with something else that was also very bold. And so I love this candy red counter situation that I had going for it. And the patterned cupboards really helped to just add in a new dynamic that I've never really explored before within the kitchens. And that's just really having a really loud kitchen. And that's what I wanted the kitchen to do. I wanted it to be really small, but also really loud and still very useful for the player. I added in a sink, and I usually for apartment lots that are not starter homes and all of that, I like to add in a dishwasher, but I just didn't have the space. And the dishwashers here, like when they take over the bottom part of the counters, they do kind of change them a little bit. And so I like sometimes that can miscolor certain things, and I just really didn't want to do that struggle. So I decided not to do a dishwasher. I just decided to add in a sink. I did add in a washer though, and that is something that I don't normally do in kitchens. Like I did it in the starter home back in the Bridge View build way back when. So I did add in a washer before. It's not something new to this channel, but it's not something that I do often. And there is actually a gameplay reason for that. So in the game, like when you do laundry, Sims players all over have mixed feelings about the laundry. I personally think it's an okay system so long as you don't place multiple hampers. You have to keep it very simple within the Sims 3. Now, on this particular lot and in the lot build that I did before, like with the Cambodian apartment complex, I did add in like a public laundromat on the ground floor. Obviously, I did not do it this time round, and that's because I am actually going to allow the residents of this unit to do their own laundry on their own lot in their own privacy kind of thing. So gameplay wise, like why I decided to do this is because, and this is just like a theory of mine, the theory here is just that you won't actually be able to do your laundry unless you go to a public laundromat lot. And I think realistically, like this wouldn't have its own private in-suite laundry. You would just go to the laundromat across the market way or whatever. But because this is The Sims 3, because there are gameplay limitations, I'm pretty sure that your laundry won't get done unless you go to a public laundromat. And where I'm going to be placing the public laundromat lot, which is not for a little while here, you guys, but it's going to be quite far away from this particular lot. So in my opinion, like even though I do believe that every community lot needs to have a proper function at some point, I'll explain more when I get to the laundromat build, which is way far into the future. But even though I do believe that every community lot needs to be required or useful at some point, like the gameplay here just, I don't think it would have allowed for that to happen. And I also feel like this would, like the laundromat location would just be too far for players to even bother going to. More will be explained when that laundromat lot has been used, but what I decided to do as a compromise is give them the washer right in their kitchen, and I decided to add a clothesline on the rooftop, which helps to make the rooftop seem a little more interesting and helps to differ its use from the Cambodian apartment build's rooftop, which was more of a leisure place, whereas this one is a little more utilitarian. Also, like speaking of laundry, there was really no place to place the hamper where it made sense within this house. Like I didn't want it in the hallway by the stairs on both the first floor or the second floor. Like at least not where one could view it. I am a believer that you don't air out your dirty laundry. So I decided to make like a little impromptu linen closet with the Cambodian blinds. So yet again, that is an object that is kind of saving my skin for these kind of small set solutions. I'm not too sure if it would work, and maybe I'll write this down as something to put in the edit episode, but if I did a full-blown wall, I think it would have cut off some padding issues, whereas with those Cambodian blinds, when you use move objects with those blinds and place them as freestanding objects, Sims can actually move through them. For whatever reason, that is the case with curtains and blinds, and so, you know, I decided to add a little bit of privacy for this impromptu linen closet, but at the same time, you know, Sims will still be able to interact with it. So it's like a really great solution for gameplay workarounds such as that. And in this case, like it just worked beautifully in my opinion. Now that I think about it, I actually think I misspoke in the beginning of this episode. There are 3 bedrooms in this particular apartment unit. However, there's really only 1.5 bathrooms. So what I consider to be like a half bathroom is just a bathroom that has a sink and a toilet. Whereas I think that a full bathroom needs to have like a shower or a tub or something. So I think I might have called it a 2 bathroom in the beginning of this episode, when in reality it's really 1.5 bathrooms, because there's a nice little guest powder room on the, I guess the main level, even though technically it's on the second level. Anyways, 3 bedrooms have been added into this apartment unit. It includes, like, of course, the primary bedroom, but there's also like a kid's room and a nursery as well. So I am, again, like encouraging family gameplay here, and that's kind of the idea, is that you have a family that lives here in the neighborhood and they own the restaurant on the ground level there. So there's a lot of unique gameplay experiences to be had just by living on this lot and in the Cambodian apartment lot as well. And even though, you know, I have made them restaurants, there's still an opportunity to like own a business, and who knows, like you as the player can choose to make it something completely different. You can make it into a toy store if you want. There's lots of business objects that came with one of the Sims 3 store worlds, and I completely forget. I think it's like Spooky Hollow or something. Forget what it was called, but it's like the haunted one. I keep calling it as. This is so bad. I should really remember. I'll probably like put up some text on screen there whenever I talk about it, because you know, just like I overlooked it when it first came out as a world, but now that I've kind of come back into playing The Sims 3, it's actually very underrated, and I think that the theme was something that didn't appeal to me, and it never really does. Like that kind of a theme doesn't ever really appeal to me. Like not even the Supernatural expansion pack really appealed to me, but there are some really good quirks and some great objects within that game, and some really deep gameplay to be had. But anyways, the full bathroom that's upstairs is a dual entrance full bathroom. Now, this is not something like I'm a huge fan of because, well, in this case, there's an entrance from the hallway and then an entrance from the primary bedroom there. So it gives an illusion of there being an ensuite to that primary bedroom when in reality it's not. Like I mentioned, am not a fan of this kind of style of bathroom. In fact, I quite hate it. And I've never really been a fan of Jack and Jill bathrooms either. So it's not like this is out of the path. Like, this isn't an exception for me. This is something that like falls into my line of thinking. I just think that bathrooms need to have one entrance, and it's just really for privacy control, because you would have to like enter in one of those bathrooms and then rush to the other door to lock it before you start using it. So it's just one of those things where I'm just like, you can make a case for both of it, and I just personally don't like it, just due to privacy infiltrations there, I suppose. And if you lock the other door, like, can you like, do you unlock it afterwards? Like, you have to remember that kind of thing. Anyways, not a fan of Jack and Jill bathrooms. I don't really care for the dual entrance full bathroom either, but that was something that I decided to put in here because I feel like it's something that the designers would choose to do in order to make the primary bedroom feel more like a primary bedroom, just to kind of give it that false sense of amenity there. But anyways, like I've done with the previous couple of builds, I am encouraging family gameplay with this, just with the layout that I've got here. And, eventually we're going to move on to lots where family gameplay is actually not going to be encouraged, and there's going to be a little more different storytelling going on here and there. But yeah, with the bathrooms, I decided to use the Zen Again set for the bathrooms. It's another set that came with The Sims 3. It is another Asian-inspired, I believe Japanese-inspired bathrooms that uses a lot of natural themes here and there, hence why I've got like stone walls, and I've switched the floors out so that they are wood-slatted floors. Well, not wood-slat, but hardwoods, I suppose. And yeah, I ran out of ideas, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, for the bathrooms. I didn't know how to make an Indian style bathroom, so I decided to just use the Zen Again set and really really stretch the definition of a of a Far East fusion neighborhood, which is really what Far East Square is all about. But I'm really like stretching it with the bathroom interpretation here. So, I'd apologize in advance here, but I was just like really out of ideas, you guys, and I felt like it was, like under the umbrella that this is a fusion, a mixture of many Asian cultures and Far East cultures, that I could get away with it. But we'll see what the comment section has to say about that. I could make the case here that perhaps the owners of the building are different than those who actually occupy the unit, and so the owners say not to touch the bathrooms or whatever. But anyways, truth is, you guys, I was just out of ideas, and I had a set that I haven't used, and I really wanted to use it, so I used it here. And that is going to be the case with that. Going forward here, we are going to head back to Blue Water Village. I have a very interesting idea and something that I am very excited to share with you guys for that next episode. I'm hoping that you guys will actually enjoy it first and foremost, but I am also hoping that by the time this episode releases, that maybe that my schedule will change going forward. I'll kind of have to feel that one out, just because I'm not sure what's going to happen in April or even May, and what my schedule is going to look like going forward at that time. So it's very hard for me to say or for me to make any promises, despite me like recording this episode, because I'm actually recording this in the month of January, if you would believe it or not. So I don't know what's going to happen there, so I can't make any promises. I can only really hope at this point that perhaps my schedule will change just enough for me to produce some more videos. That is kind of the plan going forward anyways. But you know, with the most updated schedules and all that, I'll be sure to post it on my community tab. So look out for those announcements if those are going to be published there. But anyways, next episode, we are heading back to Blue Water Village. We are doing another single family home, but I have got a different approach based on a comment, and I am actually super excited to give that a shot just to see if it's an approach that I want to take with home building going forward, and whether or not it's something that you guys would enjoy as well. But anyways, I will leave it at that because I've still yet to actually build that house. But yeah, that is what is next on this channel. For those of you that have enjoyed this episode, and even if you didn't, feel free to like this video and consider commenting or subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. That would be much appreciated. I'm gonna leave it here for now, and I just want to say if you'd like to stick around the tours, if they aren't already playing, then feel free to stick around for those. And yeah, thank you so much for watching today's speed build. I really do appreciate it. And with all of that said, I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.